Crypto market, Bitcoin, altcoins, it is over. It's over for the bears. We have the best setup in history of these markets going on right now, and it's starting to absolutely eat up any of the possibility for the bears. We're seeing the bears getting liquidated. We're seeing persistent bullish pressure to the upside in crypto. I'm going to go ahead and get this retweeted. Every single one of you get involved in the live chat. Tell me good morning. Tell each other good morning. What city, what state are you tuning in from? What country are you tuning in from? Let's see where you are all at. Let's get active. We're going to be going live here in about 10 seconds. So everybody get this retweeted, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's look at the key trading signals that are suggesting much higher price action in the very near future. Everybody, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. We got Alexandra G in the house. We got other people flowing in here as well. Let's go. Bitcoin breaking to new all-time highs over the evening last night. We got Bitcoin right now $111,425. Is there going to be another bit of wiggle room to the downside to trap bears before this absolutely destroys any sort of bearish hope, meaning people that want to short the market? Because we're seeing a little bit of choppiness right now as it's kind of hovering in this upper zone, that right at the edge of that mega pump gateway that we've been highlighting for quite some time here on the BitLab Academy. And our altcoins finally going to have their day in the sun. We've got a lot to talk about today. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it, because we see this chart. I shared this yesterday. Where is it at? I shared this yesterday at 11:11 a.m. showing the potential move, especially because we have broken to the upside of this descending broadening wedge. It's a bullish pattern. Even though price was short-term trending to the downside, these tend to break to the upside. And we've gotten that. We've gotten the retest. We got a little move higher beyond this level here, beyond this previous range high here. We hit a new all-time high. Are we headed to $140,000 next? I do think we're going to make it up to this level and way beyond. However, there's going to be some tribulation. There's going to be some trials. There's going to be some choppiness on the way from 112 to 120 and 140 and then up to 180 and 200 and beyond. So let's talk about exactly what that is. When we're looking at the market as it is right now today, over $3.4 trillion. In fact, earlier we were at 3.47. Let's see what, sitting right now at $3.46 trillion. And this is in the midst of some people still wondering when the entire market's going to collapse. On the other hand, we're also seeing overwhelming signs, especially in the digital asset space, outside of any other narrative in global finance, just crypto, just Bitcoin, just Ethereum, just all these alts you're looking at. We're seeing an overwhelming appetite that is suggesting prices are going to go much higher. We're sitting right now with Bitcoin at $2.2 trillion, just a little bit over it. We got Ethereum at $334 billion. Tether, stablecoin, USDT, sitting at $158 billion. XRP, $144 billion. BNB, $93 billion. We got Solana sitting in the sixth spot here at $83 billion. And remember, everything that we've seen in this last year has only suggested an easier, more sustained, and more empowered path going forward. Imagine what price did in the crypto markets when everything was against crypto. Every single thing out there, central banks, governments, states, regulation, everything was just constricting any possibility about where the crypto markets was potentially going to go. It was a risk bet. Where we're at right now is an asymmetric risk bet, meaning you have more reward possibility than risk that you're taking on. The market, the world, the technology is all getting integrated into this next phase, which is blockchain taking over and everything integrating onto it. Now let's dive in, because we got some key charts and signals that we want to talk about, because there's some major things going on. Now, of course, I've been sharing this chart for quite some time, and this is essentially zooming in on this. We're seeing this phase of the market that we're in right now, which is the world racing to stack Bitcoin. The Bitcoin and the digital asset sector is now on the front page of every headline, of every bit of how do we integrate into the future. It's digital assets and it's AI. It's these two sectors that are at the top of every business that's going to make it. at the top of every financial institution that's going to even potentially keep their position, let alone expanding it. You have to be involved with AI. You have to be involved with blockchain. And we're looking for these targets up here. And yet we're sitting right here. We've broken beyond this. Now, of course, this chart originally was shared July 10th. This is not when this chart was shared. June 12th is when I shared this chart right here. And this, I do think, starts a whole new phase in the market, which for me means that we are going to extend beyond this year, beyond this 4-year cycle everybody's talking about. Is because of this. I do think Bitcoin's going higher, much higher, and I think we're going to have a longer market cycle. We have Fed rate cuts possibly coming as soon as the end of this month, which is about a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, the next FOMC meeting. If it doesn't happen, then we are in for a slingshot in September, when there very, very likely is going to be a pretty substantial rate cut, and then persistent rate cuts going into the end of the year, also into the beginning of 2026. We also have the midterm, these right here going on next year. I don't want to say this because it censors me, but then we also have the global Bitcoin and crypto awareness. And we also have corporations racing to stack. We are going to be looking at these targets up here in no time, above 158,000, above 213,000, above 265,000. Hell, we could even hit this $365,000 mark by next summer. Now, will that happen? We don't know. Even if we get the lower side of this target and we get a pullback, the persistent trend in this market is going to be up for the rest of our lifetime. That's my opinion, and that's why I'm stacking so aggressively. Now, shout out to everybody that's in the room. We got 747 people. I know we're going to have probably at least over 1,000 more tuned in here in the very near term. We also have everybody watching on YouTube. We got you watching on Rumble. We got you watching on X. Big love wherever you are tuned in from. Shout out to you. And I see, just so you know, when you guys jump in the live chat, whether on YouTube, X, or Rumble, I do see it right here, right next to my charts. I have a section cut out directly in front of my eyes. So when I'm looking at charts, I can see what you guys are talking about. Shout out to Dingo Booty. We got Ardio Livord. Deal Lavord, I know it's hard to say the name, but yeah, shout out to you. Baz Dragon, how you doing? Tex-Mex, Biomex, how you? Maybe I'll get some Tex-Mex today for lunch. Big love to you. And Alexandra G, of course, shout out to you. Now, what do we got coming up? Because we just had Bitcoin break to new all-time highs. We just had Bitcoin break to new all-time highs over $112,000. We have 120, 140,000 in sights. But is there the right type of things that can sustain bullish movement into that? Well, just so you know, we've got some major things such as, I mean, look at this, financial services, .house.gov. This is, the U.S. House of Representatives talking about Crypto Week, which is starting in only a couple days after this weekend. Next week, we have Crypto Week, and they're going to be talking about everything from the Clarity Act to the Genius Act to market structure, all these things that have been front and center within Congress, within the Senate, within our entire administration that we see. The focus is, how do we make sure that we set up this not only launch pad, but support the most important industry of our lifetime, which is the digital asset sector, the blockchain sector. And we just broke all-time highs. And this is before we're getting rate cuts. This is before we get that next round of major, major money printing, which is sure to happen. So is there reasons to forecast there's more buying pressure and the move from uncertainty to certainty in markets, which makes assets just absolutely fly, is coming in very strong. But then we also have this from Caleb Franzen. Bitcoin's 60-day volatility is making new 1-year lows while price makes new all-time highs. Meaning, even with the move yesterday, it was kind of exciting, kind of not. People are like, yeah, okay, we broke to new highs, but it feels very measured. It feels very metered. We have not gotten that move that I've been talking about for quite some time, which are the major moves you see in massive impulses in the charts. These are the type of moves that we're looking at right here. This move right here, look at that. That's a 47% move. And then you kind of zoom back a little bit and you see here after the ETF collapse and even back to this range high. If you measure that to the top, that's also a 50% move. You see this right here from the break of this high. You measure that. That's also, to where the ETF, that's 56% move. I do think, are we going to get another 50% move from here? I don't know. We won't know until after it happens. But I do know that the coiled spring is set up in a way with the lack of volatility, that we're likely to get a major move in these markets. Now, beyond just seeing the volatility, the Bollinger Bands constricted as tight as they've been, and I've been sharing that with you all, we're also seeing the news stack up in such fundamentally bullish ways that with the price sitting right here and still sitting at the threshold of this mega pump gateway that I've been sharing with you all for, I don't even know how long. It's been a few months at least. And this is that mega pump gateway. Let's go ahead and zoom out on this. This is that zone that I've been talking about right here. Let's kind of zoom in on this, make this small. Boom, right here. This is a zone that we really want to see Bitcoin's price. Let's go ahead and grab the thing. There we go. This is a zone that we really want to see Bitcoin break free of because there's so much liquidity, excitement, and fear at this zone. Once we clear this, it doesn't mean we're going straight from 112 to $140,000. It means we're breaking a key barrier of a lot of liquidity interest to where we can actually start making those stair steps to that next range. And the fact that volatility has been so constricted because price action, look at this. Once we've been at this over $100,000 range, yes, we got this one move in this. Let's see, where is $100,000? Right here. So let's measure from here across to the day we're on right now. 64 days minus one wick that we had below $100,000. We spent 2 months over $100,000. Bitcoin is now consolidated for 2 months above $100,000 with one Wyckoff spring or one bear trap move right here that really trapped the fear players here, allowing those people to rotate their capitals into stronger hands, into people that are going to make a hell of a lot more money because they're buying the fear rather than selling it. Take this as your number one lesson in any asset that you're trading, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Nvidia, or Apple, or Tesla. It doesn't matter what you are trading. If you are trading, if everybody is jumping into fear mode, they tend to be the best opportunities to buy. Case in point right here. We also shared this yesterday on this chart right here. Boom, right here. We shared this yesterday about these very exciting points that people only buy when it's exciting. Terrible buy unless you're willing to hold. Unfortunately, the people that buy these exciting points here at $74,000, if you're buying the excitement, you're also a hell of a lot more prone to sell the fear. So you end up taking this massive loss from $74,000 all the way down here, a 32% loss or somewhere within this realm. These are, if you're trading, these are areas to sell, these are areas to buy, especially when we have a very defined uptrend on the market. So when we consider what's happening, the layout looking forward is overwhelmingly bullish. We need to be looking for any opportunities where there is fear because those are going to signal very, very strong buys until we get a reversal of trend. And unfortunately, actually, overwhelmingly, fortunately, we have only seen price structures make moves in which they are only illustrating the strength of the bull cycle. The move up, scary sideways, but also the flash wick down where previous range high. Awesome move back up. Oh my God, it's so scary. But what is it doing? Only going to previous range high. Okay, so what we're seeing right here, in my opinion, is a setup for higher, and not just higher, but much higher. 140, shit. This is going to be going very, 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 very much higher. The question is at what scale, what time scale? We need to allow ourselves to be a little bit patient here. Let's go ahead and remove some of these lines because we are getting other signals right now that are signaling the bullish strength is here for continuation. Now, what are those signals? Well, let's see. We got an arrow right here. What is this pointing at? I really do think the dominant trend is going to maintain to the upside. Could we get a washout down? Sure. But when you look at other things like the super trend, and you can see here, when this flips from red to green, this is right in the middle of a large move to the upside. Of course, this didn't really break through, but again, goes into the red, but then boom, green right here. This made a move all the way up here till, look at that, 80% move. Okay, here, flipped red. Okay, back green. Let's go on to these candles. This made a move 70% to the upside. Okay, we had some choppiness in here, but then when the actual consolidation ended and this actually resumed with a lot of bullish follow through. This made a move from these candles right here to this high here. Boom, 84% move to the upside. And why is there an arrow here other than the fact that the super trend, I mean, even on this move here, look at this is a 45% move to the upside. We barely flipped red for a moment right here. We just got the super trend flipping green. Is this signaling? Is the time now that we're about to get, let's say 30% move? Look at that, 30%. I did not plan this. 30% move would take us right to that target that we've been talking about, 140,000. If it goes, beyond that, 50% would be, where's that price? A 50% move would be up to $161,000. So these targets that we're talking about, when you stop getting so fixated on, oh, the price is high, the price is irrelevant when you're looking at supply and demand dynamics, that when you have exponential demand coming in and a reduction of available supply, the price at this point is irrelevant. What does the data suggest about where is possible? Well, we've talked about this target. This also is a target that is based on this inverted head and shoulder that's right here. But what about the key fib? If we do a fib extension from here, let's go to the top to bottom and look at that. The 1.618 is at 130,000. The 1.786 is just under that, 137. So right in the same zone that we also have a target of this inverted head and shoulders. Boom, right here. Let's measure that out. Boom, measure that out. The target out of this goes all the way up into the 160s. So 140 is actually conservative from here when you're just looking at the data that has statistical relevance about where price can likely go. So am I not going to take profits if we're actively trading, not stacking long term? Am I not going to take profits unless this hits my target at 161,000? No, I'm not a jackass. You look at a confluence of other signals that are outlining the different levels that different types of traders may be taking profits out of trades for reversals. Now, if you're stacking, then on the way up, on dips, you're buying and you're looking at long term anyway. So you need to make sure when you're listening to different personalities in crypto specifically, but also other stocks, when you're listening to different talking heads, different analysts, different media outlets on whether it's Nvidia, Bitcoin, Ethereum, BitTensor, TAO, Chainlink, Solana, you have to make sure that you don't get excited about a buy or a sell from somebody talking about it on a different time horizon than your strategy is actually being deployed on. If you're looking to trade into the end of the year, that's a midterm, longer term time frame, but you might be listening to somebody talking about this is a sell here, but he might be talking about an intraday move on a 1 hour chart. Do not confuse yourself in your strategy based on listening to somebody that is deploying a different strategy. It doesn't make their strategy wrong or right, and it doesn't make your strategy wrong or right. You need to take in the various ingredients that you're taking in, but make sure you're deploying them in the way for your strategy that is not, being conflicted by somebody else that you heard that's deploying a different strategy. That is an easiest way to just lose all your money in any market. So when we're looking at this, and I'm talking about how bullish I am, I'm talking about on the midterm macro into the end of this year into next year. On the macro, Bitcoin's going up and to the right. But most people are emotional. Most people have different things throughout their day, throughout their week, throughout their month, throughout their year that they may be overextended. Maybe they need to take profits off. Maybe they need to pay for a wedding, buy a car. Maybe they don't understand DeFi and how you can take loans or use your assets as collateral within crypto and not have to sell. There's so many different points that people are at on their journey within these markets that you need to make sure you do not get yourself confused deploying 6 different strategies, wondering why your strategy is not working, because they all have different time horizons, different risk narratives, and different agendas. Learn from me. Learn from Frankie Candles. Learn from CryptoFace. From Randy Hipper. From Tom Crown. From DZ and Joshua and Blockchain Basement. Drew. But know that even within our building here at the Hit Network with Blockchain Basement, Discover Crypto, and myself, even sometimes in the morning when we're discussing, we have slightly different outlooks on what we think is going to happen. And then we start talking. It's like, oh, well, I'm looking at the 4-hour time horizon. That's why I feel this way. Oh, well, I'm talking about the weekly. You got to clarify your time horizon, and you got to clarify what it is your purpose is for looking at whatever analysis that you're trying to decipher. That's rule number one in this market is pull ingredients, but make sure the ingredients that you're taking are getting deployed into a strategy that is relevant to what your desired outcome is and what your patience and risk appetite can actually handle. Okay. So I just want to get that through all of our heads, even my own. I'm talking to myself and this too. We all get confused and we hear this and we hear that and it's but let's rock this market together because, guys, the world is opening up to this market and it is about to get exciting. You can see right here, just over my right shoulder, I got the hat, the $200,000 Bitcoin. I got the hat and I'm going to be putting it on when we get there. But it is happening. $1 million Bitcoin, it is happening. $10 million Bitcoin, it is happening. There are going to be bumps. There's going to be stair steps. There's going to be washouts along the way. The question is, will you be there at $1 million Bitcoin? Or will you just be having to buy back in at 700 because you missed $600,000 in price actions because you chopped yourself out without having a good strategy? I'm here, guys. We're here to do this together. But let me look at some of y'all's comments here. We got good afternoon from the UK, Baz Dragon. How you doing? Tex-Mex Biomex. We got Woohoo from our Ardio Lavord. I love the name actually. A Dingo baby, Dingo Booty. Is it Dingo Booty? Where'd it go? I lost the name. Dingo Booty. What's up? Objectively, real reality. Objectively, how you doing? Alexander G. Ugin Sky. Let me scroll all the way down. Vincent P. Was about to transfer my whole 401k in an ETF that has Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, XRP. But with today's boom and transfer delays, I feel I missed the boat and can't press a button. Yes, as Canadian. Wait, you know what? This one of those re-incentive. We all get re-incentivized sometimes on how we take action on things because we have a great idea. We have a great idea and we waited too long to pull the trigger. And then we beat ourselves up. It's like, well, I had the idea, but now I missed the boat. Good. Learn from it. Don't do that again. Let's all take more initiative. When you have an agenda, when you have an action plan, when you have a goal, let's take action on it. Bitcoin at $111,000 is cheap as hell for where Bitcoin is going. The question is, can you realize that through looking at the data, or are you still trapped in the hope and fear on what price is doing? The price of Bitcoin is not going to affect where it's going like it does in any other stock or any other asset that's ever existed because it is a finite supply, because the world's just waking up to it, because governments are stacking, because states are stacking, because corporations are starting setting up Bitcoin treasuries. There's ETFs, and yet we're only at about 4 to 8, somewhere in there, 4 to 8% global adoption. There is so much room to run. $111,000 Bitcoin is going to be like right now. It's scary to buy, isn't it? A top? There is no top because there's an infinite money print in every dollar that's out there in the world, whether it's the Turkish lira, the bolivar, the peso, the US dollar. They're all trash, and the world is waking up to this. $111,000 Bitcoin is going to be the best. You're going to be a champion in your life, in your family, in your lineage as an ancestor in 30 years time, in 100 years time. It's like, dude, dad got in on Bitcoin at $111,000. Can you believe it? And that's when Bitcoin's, 100 years from now, Bitcoin's going to be, who knows? It's going to be in the deca millions, 20 million, 40 million, 100 million, who knows? It's hard to assess, but I know it's going to be higher from here. And there's going to be dips along the way. So let's get in. We got a lot more to talk about. We gotta chop it up sometimes together, guys. Don't make me sell my house, Kelly. Ugin Sky says, gotta take L's to enjoy the W's. That is right. Hey, I lost almost $100,000, 11 Bitcoin. This was what must have been 5 years ago. In 2 trades, back to back. Bad trade, it was over leveraged. And then I revenge kamikaze trade, as CryptoFace calls it. And I look at that every day. That's a 1.3, something like that, $1.3 million loss. because I didn't have humility in that moment. I didn't practice what I knew, which is good risk management. The price action did exactly what I wanted it to do. I looked at the charts. Let me say this. I looked at the charts. I did technical analysis, and the price action did exactly what I wanted it to, and I still lost 11 Bitcoin in 2 trades back to back. I had terrible risk management, and then I kamikaze traded to make it back on the follow-up trade. Lost both trades. I did not practice what all of us know, good risk management. Hedge yourself a little bit. You don't need to do 40x leverage on 11 Bitcoin. It's stupid. I was stupid and I deserve to take that loss. Ask yourself what losses you've taken in trading crypto, any asset, when you could have just hedged yourself a little bit, practice a little bit better risk management, or we're just a little bit more patient. You can project exactly what the price is going to do, and it might do it, but you might be a little over leveraged and you get a wick that goes down within $3 of your liquidation, and you feel like the market was hunting my position. Poor little me. We're not going to do this poor little me nonsense. We're going to say, damn, take it on the chin, and then we're going to say, what can I do better? What can I learn from this? I just paid a substantial amount of tuition for this market, and learning from poor execution when there's so much content and material out there that can teach you the right way. Our biggest flaw as humans is, yes, we report stuff. Yes, we share stuff. Yes, we have education, but most of us don't take on education until after we failed 7 times on our own. And then even though we start learning, then we still don't listen to the full process because we know better. No, you don't. You're not special. You never were. You're one of 8 billion people. And I hate to say it, you're special in your heart. You're special in your world. But you are only one atom or a grain of dust in this entire earth, in this entire universe. You're special to me, sure, but you have to remember when you are out here in these markets, it is a dog eat dog world. No, I mean, they don't care. If you're trading and your dad's trading, you're trading against each other. And it doesn't matter. It's not like if he takes a win and you take a loss. It's not like he took it from you. If you take a loss, you took the loss. It's nobody else's fault. Nobody's. It's nobody else's fault. And the second you can take ownership of your errors, then you can excel. Then you can absolutely just moonshot to the upside in your profits. So let's take responsibility. Ouch, that hurt me to hear. Hey, it still hurts me, but I've let go of that. I've learned from it. I trade smart as shit now. I'd still take I took a 50x long this morning. It might actually still be open, but it was a $64 trade in an exchange account that I'm kind of either trying to make it pop or just get liquidated out. So I have no agenda with that. I'm not going to do that on my portfolio. My portfolio is mostly long-term cold storage. I've got about 7% of my portfolio in trading account that I can go and actively trade with. And I'm very selective about when and where I take trades. And I also do it with risk mitigation. I don't just do 38x on every single trade that I do. Some are 15x, some are 3x, some are spot. It depends on the circumstances of that environment when I jump into it. But we got more to talk about, guys. We're just getting into the nitty gritty here. We got to look at a couple more things. How can price? Okay, reset, rewind. Bitcoin is at $111,000, $247 right now. How the hell can it go higher? Well, think about it, everybody. We have corporations bought over 159,000 Bitcoin just in Q2. This isn't total. They've got hundreds of thousands at this point, but just in Q2 of this year, 159,000 Bitcoin acquired, the most of any quarter. There's an acceleration by the largest corporations in the world, as well as the largest financial players in the world. And I mean, governments and everything stacking right now. And it's only just started. So $111,000 is just a start. And you can also see that on this metric here from Bitwise. And we see corporate Bitcoin adoption, Q2. Golly, total Bitcoin holdings, 847,000 Bitcoin. And they're just getting started. Number of public companies holding Bitcoin, 125. Again, 125. This is why I'm saying it has only just begun. It's only just begun. Consider this. Strip out strategy, which is Michael Saylor's company, strip out 600,000 Bitcoin, and that means that there's only about 200,000 Bitcoin that are on the other 124 businesses out there, corporations that hold. They only hold about 200,000 Bitcoin. That is crazy. We have just begun, guys. $111,000 is literally the starting point for where we're going. What is it going to look like? I've been talking about this for 2 years. This is looking a lot like 2017. And we are, I do think, about to enter this parabolic phase. I don't think it's going to be as steep as we see here, but I do think it's going to be longer and burn to the upside. Why is it not going to be as steep? The market cap is exponentially larger than it was back here. It's so much larger. However, we also have exponentially more capital channels that are also bringing an exponentially larger amount of Bitcoin Bitcoin purchasing power into the market. We are going to get this, and I think it's going to stretch into 2026. So just note that. And then we got the R huddle. This is a great chart. This is a great on-chain chart that weighs different length of holders and basically the strength of where we're at in the market. And what we can see here is the R huddle momentum is blue while Bitcoin pushes towards all-time high. This is blue right here. This is blue right here. Where were we at here? Look how early this was. Okay, look how early this was. We had this sort of little blip, blip, blip. But then boom, we had this already here, and it's cooled back off, giving us more room to run. Way more room to run. We have not topped anywhere near it. I stand by those guns. And then we got the leading signal here, looking at the market. Looking at the market based on different size of wallets, meaning different wallets out there on chain, all of it's public knowledge. You might not know whose wallet it is, but there's every wallet on chain. You can see how many Bitcoin are being held. So you can see different sizes, less than 1 Bitcoin, 1 to 10, 10 to 100 Bitcoin, 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin, 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin, and over 10,000 Bitcoin. And then the blue, dark blue is when they're buying, they're accumulating. The dark red is when they're selling. Cool. So what does this tell us? This gives us basically a visual representation of which wallets are buying and selling and when. Well, I mean, less than 1 Bitcoin, kind of stacking along the way here before the move up. And then we really started getting traction here when we started getting the 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin and 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin. That's when we got the substantial sort of the powder keg to really have buying power to push up. Now, in this zone right here, it's been a little choppy and flat. Well, we had some accumulation throughout here, the different wallet sizes, but then we had the dip down, and then where we're seeing here, the 1 to 10 Bitcoin taking a little bit of profits here. Distribution, red. But then what we're seeing right here, we have the 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin wallets. Wallets with pretty substantial amounts of Bitcoin are starting heavy accumulation here. And there's not really red, which means distribution. There's no red here. So the 1 to 10,000 Bitcoin wallets are buying. And then we got sort of medium right here. You know, it's kind of a little bit of a wash. And then we get the lighter color down here on less than 1 Bitcoin buying, the 10 to 100 Bitcoin also getting towards this buying factor. The red here on 100 to 1,000 has gotten back to very light yellow, which is, you know, kind of neutral, but getting back towards buying. And then same thing up here in the over 10,000 Bitcoin. We're starting to see some signs that higher is coming, guys. Higher is coming. And then we got the question about altcoins. Well, the Bitcoin dominance is setting up what looks like a potential for at least a mini rally. I'm not saying full alt season, but we saw, look, a bearish cross right here. What do we see on this cross right here? Look at that. Boom. This was actually a pretty good run. Where was this? This was at the end of the year when we saw all those AI agents and some of your top alts and even some memes. We had a pretty good little mini run there, pretty substantial. Now, maybe we get this again. Maybe this is actually full on into alt season. We won't know until this happens, but we got a bearish cross here. We also have, you can also see this on the MACD on the histogram here, which is just a measurement of the distance between this, but this clearly is flipped bearish. This is clearly crossed, and we've got, I mean, we have bearish divergence on the Bitcoin dominance as well. When you look at this like this, let's come over here to V right here. Boom. Look, so these are higher. Boom, boom. What do we got on the RSI? Lower, and money flow lower. We have some signs that we may get a move. This is a dominance. Look at it. Dominance dropped 11%. What dates were this? This was, let me move that. This was basically middle of November to into December. So what do we see? Let's, for instance, look at Link. Where are we at? Look at this. So look at this coming right. I can see, I'm looking at the date on the very bottom. You might not be able to see it. This is the beginning of November. This is the middle of November. And what we get, look at this. This is a pretty nice pump. This is 128% pump in that time that dominance fell. So we may not get a full blown alt season where things are going 300%, 1,000%, 2,000%, but we may be getting a pop here soon at minimum. We may get the full-blown alt season, especially considering some of the stablecoin moves that just happened. Now, in addition to that, what do we got? We have the price action on Chainlink also has rounded out here. We have a lower low, lower low, lower low, higher low. This is also broken out of this downtrend. We look at this, and I'm using this as a proxy to look at all the alts right now because we're seeing this kind of across the board. Okay, look at this. We had much lower low here. We had a bullish divergence here, and what we get, we had the move up into the zone. We've broken out of this, cleared the moving average, and money flow is positive. We also see on Ethereum. Okay, let's look at this. When was this? Where are we at? Are we on the day? Yeah, daily. Okay, cool. Let's see. Boom, right here. So look at this. End of October into November, we had the move up. And this makes sense, right? Why would this make sense? Because if Bitcoin dominance is falling, this is also suggesting, it's almost like an overarching metric for what the altcoin's doing, the altcoin market. This means the altcoin market was setting up before this move for this move to happen. This means altcoins are growing, their market cap is growing faster or losing less fast, either or, than Bitcoin's market cap. The amount of Bitcoin dominance of how much Bitcoin's market cap has against the entire crypto market cap. So if this was falling here, then the altcoin market was also setting up into that. And we see this right here. Look at this. This is, I mean, slow burn through here, but the RSI, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? Just like we're seeing in the zone. But we also get this massive move on the money flow, flips positive right here. And look at this, RSI breaks out. And so this is right at the beginning of November and then into, look at that, middle of December. And what we see on dominant. So when we look at something like, where is it at? When we look at something like this and we do see this cross, again, we don't know if it's going to be something like this. We don't know if it's going to be like this. Or we don't know if it's going to actually be a full-on, race to the moon with alts. But the setup is here. It's good to be aware of the setup so you can get situated for the possible move. This does not mean alt season is happening. The Bitcoin dominant setup that is looking like it's about to break down. And as we just pointed out, we also have bearish divergence here, also suggesting weakness in Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin dominance does fall, then this thus means altcoins are about to get a pop. The question is how big. Now, what else we got? We got other signs and signals. Will there be an alt season? Well, or is this the biggest opportunity in history for Bitcoin decoupling from alts and everything else? Well, this is Bitcoin. And what do you see on alts? Everything else, everything outside of Bitcoin, every other altcoin, every other crypto. Bitcoin is just taking the cake right now. And it's not only Bitcoin, it's also Bitcoin proxies. So the alt season that we've had so far is the Bitcoin treasury companies like Strategy and Metaplanet and GameStop, and where all these proxies and the Strife and Stride and Nakamoto, all these different, where we're seeing big money flood into these Bitcoin treasury companies. But I still think there's going to be a pretty massive rollover of capital that really wakes up into the altcoin market. Now, the majority of Bitcoin-focused stuff is going to stay in Bitcoin. But eventually, there's going to be a major pop in the altcoins. And we can see that also with this chart right here from TechDev. What does this show? This shows altcoins Man, look at this. Across to the moving average, across to the moving average, across to the moving average. Where was this in the cycle? For altcoins. This is not Bitcoin. Boom. Look at this. Gets slightly above this previous range and then explosion. Look at this. Gets slightly above this previous range on this metric breakout. Absolute parabola. And we're on the cusp, I think, of getting that same thing here in the altcoin market. And it's not just tech dev. We're also seeing other things. ETH just flipped Bitcoin in futures volume. There's signs and signals here. We have people like Tom Lee, who has started this Ethereum treasury as well, trying to capture that first wave of awareness that's about to really explode, and how important stable coins are, how much displacement they're going to do and disruption they're going to do in the global payments network. That goes everything from credit cards to transactions to, I mean, stable coins are about to get deployed in such a massive way, and Ethereum is the largest market share holder of stable coins. And so there's something major coming, and we're seeing the futures volume, which is a bet with money, suggesting this is the case as well. We are about to see some massive, massive upside. And then we got everything else. We got the others. Everything in the crypto market outside of the top 10. When we're looking right here, we see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether. Okay, let's eliminate all of these top 10. And now let's look at everything else. That's what the others chart is. So when we see the others chart, and it has been bleeding against Bitcoin, meaning you've been losing value respectively, whether you should have just been holding Bitcoin if you look at this chart, because Bitcoin's been performing better than every other asset, basically on an index. However, we see this in the past. We've seen this now, we're happening again, and we're seeing these crossovers on this metric setting up much like right here before this move. If we scroll down on this, much like right here before this move. Okay, now look at this. We're getting set up for a potential break of this, which may have another mini season and then the moonshot. Either way, we're getting to that point where it's about to get super duper exciting. So what does it look like right now? Well, when we're looking at Bitcoin right now, the dominant trend, and we had that liquidity that we've been talking about, the magnet to the upside. It's came up and we've cleared that liquidity. Now let's get a little bit more zoomed in. Let's go to the 3-day and see where, look at this. This suggests, yes, we could moonshot to the upside, but this is showing a lot of liquidities opened up below us because now people got a little too hyped. It's about to go to 140. As much as I said that, yes, it is. But in the near term, in order to get there, it may need to say, okay, let's jump on the diving board down into this and then slingshot to the upside. It may not happen, but the fact that there's more, I mean, all of this liquidity below us kind of gives me a little bit of pause. We may need to flush this out. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you got to be aware of where the liquidity interest is. Now, when you look at the 24 hours, people are kind of like, okay, we hit 112. Is it good or bad? Is it bears? Well, the dominant fundamental news in Bitcoin overwhelmingly points to upside price action. That messes up so many people's bags in this market when they're looking at the price action. They're on the 15-minute chart. Kelly said the price was dominant to the upside. This is what it's going to do. It's going to just absolutely moonshot all the way up here into $200,000. It's going to be up here eventually, but because it is dominantly bullish, we still need to be a little bit more concerned on the near term that you do not chop yourself out. And if this does get a little bit of a flush down to 103 or even, scares people down sub 100 again, this could happen. It's just the bias because of the fundamental data is to the upside. But there's more and more people that are aware of that. So when you look at the liquidation chart, especially back there on the monthly, you see the monthly, we've cleared out the dominant short liquidity. Now, when you get down to the 3-day, you've cleared out, yes, the short liquidity, the upside, but now everybody's going long. So in the near term, especially maybe over this weekend, maybe we get a little washout, sort of spring before we move to the upside. When we come over and look at Ethereum, when we come over and look at Ethereum, let's go back to Ethereum because Ethereum's going to be the bellwether for the altcoin market. Now, this looks great. We have the shelf here that this pushed up into, could not break free of. It tried, failed. Bear trap, slingshot, boom, up. We have not yet cleared this 28, and this is the level I've been talking about for months. Okay, when we come over here, let's actually come out of this and come back over here. Now go down to Ethereum, boom. We've been talking about this level for quite some time. Not only the green level that we're starting to slice through, but look, this line that I did not add this today. This has been here since probably back here in February. The 2852 level doesn't, again, a wick above that doesn't matter. We need like a daily or a 3 daily close above this potential retest up, but clearing this is very important on Ethereum. It's for all of altcoins. Getting up here, clearing 3,300, but most importantly, the move from here, whatever the trials and tribulations and chop that it does to get there, clearing $4,000 is going to be, I think, when alts are already in process of making some major moves. When you look at Aerodrome, okay, we got the move to the downside. We talked about this the other day about we want to break out of this trend. We've broken out of it. Okay, where did it go? Just like we saw on Ethereum, the breakdown, great. On the move up, so bullish, but where is it having trouble? Right at previous range lows. Money flow still negative on the 8 hour. The stochastics look like they've kind of tired out, made their move. But what are we looking like in the near term? Okay, money flow is positive, but the VWAP angled straight down, stochastics angled down, RSI angled down. Unless we can get this to find a shelf here and really bulls defend this zone above, what is this? About 72 cents. We really want to hold 72 cents. Otherwise, if we lose this, I think we're coming back down here into the mid 60s, potentially lower, and really potentially even coming down mid 60s to retest a double bottom, which wouldn't necessarily just be a longer pattern to break out of. But as it stands right now, there's so much hope, there's so much excitement, there's so much expectation. Let go of your expectation. Look at the charts, look long term, because we got some monstrous moves ahead of us coming into the end of this month, coming into the end of this year. Ondo also, Ondo finally making those moves to the upside. They've announced some solid partnerships lately. Now, this is looking a bit better. Look at this, 8 hour, money flow positive. Stochastics angled up. RSI having a little bit of a breather here. That's okay. Maybe this forms a bull flag, but this is broken past all of these ranges, past these lows, past these lows. It's coming up into this zone that we have marked out from over there. Look at that. It's just extended. Same zone to watch out for. We talked about breaking 82 cents, 82.4. The next target we're really watching for is up here at about 87 cents and then up here at 92 cents. BitTensor TAO. Look at that. It broke out of the zone. Broke out of the zone. Boom, 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 bop. Now this has cleared these lows, but it's still chopping in the range of these previous lows. So if this can clear that, we're really, again, I had this drawn out already from a few days ago. If this can, maybe a little correction here, whatever, but if this can make its way up into this 375 to 390 zone, this zone is going to be very important because look, you extend this out, this cuts right through it. So we have a descending level of resistance as well as these horizontal levels that we're watching. This is going to be the zone, clearing 377 to 390, and then we're looking at 430, and then we're looking at 500. Then it's just like stacking it to the moon. Solana, we got to look at Solana. How many of you still holding Solana? Let's see. Market makers are making a killing. All the expectation and grief from late buys. It's why I've never understood anything but 10x. Yeah, shout out to you for trading smart. Okay, Solana, money flow flip green as well. Okay, look at this. Why is that? Money flow flip green because this broke out of a trend line, this descending resistance line. Now it's like, okay, now we're going to start to trust maybe this is going to make a move. But what are you seeing? The price action on Solana currently, yes, it pushed up, but it's hovering right where this rejected, right where this rejected, right where this rejected, right where this bounced, right where this rejected. You see this? We're seeing a lot of interest in this zone. If we get a small rejection here, I would say be a little patient here because it's kind of expected. We are getting that small rejection. If this does come down a bit further, like into this zone, I think this would be a great buy, so long as the market conditions don't change. If things stay as they are, if nothing shakes the market in the certainty narrative, and this comes down into here, the 150 to 156, 153 to 156 zone, I think would be fantastic buy. It would just be retesting not only this range high, but also this descending previous resistance, flipping it to support. If this can hold this zone where it's at here, then we're looking at the next leg up. We're looking at the leg up here into the 160s, mid 160s, and then ultimately, let's go to the 8 hour, 8 hour. then ultimately, we already had it drawn out. This multi-year trend line, 177. What are you talking about multi-year? Look, this is the line we're looking at. That goes back to 2021. So this is going to be an important zone for Solana to break out of. The 177 zone, and then we're looking up here to 220s, and then the 250s, and then moonshot, slingshot, and beyond. Guys, gals, friends, countrymen, I love you. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Put your hand on your heart. Find some gratitude for yourself. Find some forgiveness for errors you made. Find some forgiveness for errors other people have made that are in your life. In most cases, they didn't make those errors to hurt you. In most cases, they didn't do this to you. Most people do things for their benefit. So ask, if somebody did something and it hurt you, take that ego out of it and say, in what way did this benefit them? Or did they perceive it benefited them? And find some love in your heart, find some compassion. We've all been through a lot in our lives. Sometimes you don't know what somebody else has been through. Sometimes somebody's woefully wronged you, and you just got to send them love and compassion. But I really do appreciate each and every one of you. These prices are going so much higher. Let's learn together. Let's grow together. Let's do this together. But that's all I got in today's episode, everybody. I don't think no super chat, so no coins otherwise. Look at it. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. Adios, muchachos.